Hello, welcome to the Reds News Roundup. This is a clip from the subscriber exclusive on the redmentv.com. It's £2 a month. It's an hour long talking about Peter Moore, talking about FSG, all the incoming transfers, outgoing transfers. This clip specifically, we question FSG's ownership of Liverpool Football Club and talk about the new CEO, Peter Moore.
Liverpool announced that Peter Moore is replacing Ian Ayre as the new CEO. Before we get into him and all about him and stuff, I just want to talk about the timing of the announcement. Yeah. We've just been twatted by Leicester. I think it's fair to say we've just been battered by Leicester. Thoroughly outplayed. And yet you go on the LFC Twitter and the badge comes up, and you know when there's that picture of that badge,
it's breaking news.
It's newsy. That's the go-to picture. And they released it that night.
It's mental, mate.
It's just, I just can't get my head around. It's absolutely bizarre.
Me and Paul had a conversation about the timing of it on, I think it was on the podcast yesterday, or maybe it was on the fan away, I can't remember. And I'd said, the timing's fucking ridiculous. Because, and his rebuttal was, well, when are they going to release it? Well, we've had
Tuesday
16
morning.
fucking days without a game. Do you know what I mean? Let's not think we've tied the guy's contract up.
Do it Tuesday morning, do it Wednesday morning.
Yeah, just why? Why do it then? It's like they had it on TweetDeck to release after the game when Liverpool have won, and we'll do it, and no one's checked the TweetDeck and gone, it's actually really bad timing this. You can't be releasing this now. I just don't understand it. It's baffling to me, but the decision to appoint him, if you take that away, seems to me from the outside looking in like a good move.
And I was about to say, Lewis, he's actually a very well, respected businessman and stuff. It almost takes away from businessman, sorry. It almost takes away from the announcement. The fucking timing at the time, because it should be a big announcement when someone's hired to effectively come in and run a large part of our club, and he's going to have a major say in our club, another face. It should be big news. It's almost like, I don't know if they've tried to sugarcoat the result, and this was never going to work, or they've tried to hide the news. I don't understand it.
I think that's what it is. It's like the PR merchants that are at play again for the club, and it happens all the time. Like when Carragher was saying there's no new player contracts and things. It's just, it kind of, not it takes the fans for mugs, but it's kind of ignoring the results and thinks that we'll just go, oh, well, let's forget about that Leicester result then and just focus on this guy. These deals, as Chris said, they get done months and months in advance, so they will have had a guy lined up. And I think this is the beauty of fan channels, because we'll wallow in self-pity about the result for an hour and a half, whereas the club will go, oh yeah, just forget about that, we've got this new guy in. But do you know what? Ian Ayre, like, we'll discuss how good this guy can be. Ian Ayre has done a decent job, but I think he'd let the fans down a lot, over transfers mainly, and just not getting them over the line. So I'm happy to see that a new guy's coming in with credentials to make the club, I don't know, do better in the transfer market. But yeah, at the time, it's silly timing, and I think it's patronising.
He's not involved in the transfers.
I was about to say, I think it's important to clarify now. Liverpool have rightly distinguished football to business. They don't. So Ian Ayre was a businessman who worked for companies like Adidas and stuff, and commercially Liverpool are much better now than they were before him. He's done a great job, but for some reason he's doing transfer negotiations. Mad. So the fact that they've gone right business, and they've got, is it Michael Edwards? Michael Edwards is going to run the transfers. Whether he's good or not, we'll know in due course. But at least there's no blurred lines. There's a set structure.
Sometimes you need to have that structure, and you need to have that in place in every business, don't you? Because everybody needs to know who the top guy is in your division and stuff like that. And you can look at it like Michael Edwards. Oh, so the first thing I saw on Twitter when Peter Moore was announced was, well, that's no good, is it? Because his football context for transfers doesn't matter about his football context for transfers. It matters about his business context, and of them he has plenty. And especially with industries that are moving into a digital era. If you look back at EA, if you look back at Sega, and all these types of things, Microsoft, they know how to move in this new digital era that we're entering and we're a part of. And that a lot of clubs and a lot of businesses are failing to turn their business into a digital business. And so having someone at the helm who understands that can only be good for Liverpool. And Michael Edwards now will have built up some contacts for football-related stuff. Hopefully he'll take on the transfers. But look, ultimately, and what I like about this is if your transfer guy's not doing his job properly, you can get rid of him. Because your overall ownership's absolutely fine. Your business is still moving in the right direction. Previously, if Ian Ayre was failing on transfers and you needed to get rid of him, you'd have to get rid of your CEO of the business as well. So it kind of like, it's actually a really good delineation of what Liverpool have done, because they can go, you're doing shit, ta-ra, see you later, I'll bring someone else in.
Do you think it's mad the way we're sitting here talking about the business of Liverpool rather than the football of Liverpool, though, and that's the way the modern games go, and the way we're going, oh yeah, get the guy in who's good with like digital platforms, rather than get the guy in who knows a worldie in Spain when he sees one.
Yes, but then that's not his job anymore. So that's Michael Edwards' job now. So Mike Edwards is the man who, like, if he's crap, then you can get rid of him without having to, you know, Ian was a good commercial guy. So the deals that he's done, you know, we've got sponsors. How many sponsors Liverpool got now? Like 15. Which is what you should have.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it should be, because that's how you afford your transfers. So if he does his job right, then he can go and do his job right. So I get it. Again, the timing was mad. But if we look at him as a guy, we've criticised FSG and stuff in the past, Chris, of maybe not understanding Liverpool, the club, or Liverpool, the city, and hiring guys who are in the same boat. I think it's bad that there's a London office, and other people disagree. I think they should all be in this city. I think you get a feel for everything if you're here. This guy, well, he's a Liverpool fan. He knows the city well. He was born here.
I think he spent the last 30 years in America.
He has, I mean,
he studied in England. He was at Keele University.
But he knows the city. He knows the people at least a bit. And he's a fan, so he knows the club. He's not someone who, I don't know if you agree that they're two positives for me, in that it isn't another faceless, you know, American or someone who's not from Liverpool. I do think that matters. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I do. I think it does matter. I think you've got to understand Liverpool. I think FSG have made a few mistakes, made a lot of mistakes since they've come in, and not being able to address that was the main chief one for me. And having someone in charge of Liverpool who understands the people, understands the club, understands the roots of the city, the working class background of the people who follow it, is only going to be a good thing for Liverpool.
Ian, to an extent, did, but I don't think, for whatever reason, things still happened that shouldn't have happened with a Scouser who knew. So the ticker thing, for example. Yeah.
I think he was thrown under the bus there, but...
Yeah, you know, if someone somewhere has made that decision and he took the fall for it, I do understand that. I just think if the fact that we're losing the one Scouse fella pretty much who's in, even at the board, I think it was important that we replaced them with someone who at least knew us. If it had been, if they'd have hired someone, you know, London or, you know, even American again, although this guy's got, you know, he's been in America for a while, I think if they'd have replaced Ian with a fella from Boston, you know, who's worked for the Red Sox baseball team or something, I think PR-wise, again, it would look shit. It just looks like another thing like that. So I do think that's important.
You want the best man for the job, but that also entails a guy that understands the fans and who kind of is a fan. So it's getting that balance right. Because, as you say, you don't want to face this guy who doesn't even like football, but he's just a top-class negotiator. You do want someone who goes, you know what, the fans would appreciate this and will give you a voice at boardroom level.
Even commercial-wise, Chris, we know, and especially you probably do, sometimes you'll get approached with stuff for money, and we'll do it. That is just not Liverpool. So not, you know, will you do this for us and we'll pay you X amount of money? And it's like, nah, because some things are more important. You know what I mean? So we might do that now, and you might give us X amount of money, but it'll damage the brand. So it might. Yeah, so you'll get that, and Liverpool might have been in a boat with that. And if it's just a guy who's you know, sat in Boston on a computer and someone goes, here's £5 million for you to do this, yeah. So where someone who knows it a bit more might think, actually, the damage that'll do to our brand and our reputation, it's probably not worth doing.
It's not on the same level, but for us at Redmen, we've had loads of companies over the years approach us about putting sweets out for betting companies and stuff like that. And you know, I see loads of it, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's your choice if you want to take that money. But if people have built an account up and they've got, I don't know, 80,000 followers on Twitter, it's up to them whether they decide to flood their timeline with tweets about betting companies. On a smaller scale, we won't do that. We don't think that that's a good thing for us to do. Thinking long term, we don't want people to just sort of switch off from our Twitter feed because all we're doing is promoting somebody else's things, 90 minutes and all this. You see loads of it on Liverpool Twitter. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing for them. You've got to make your decisions yourself. But for us, it was always the wrong move, and we've always knocked them back. We've turned loads of money away. We probably shouldn't have done that. We'd probably have a better website if we didn't. But the fact of the matter is, that's a decision that we've made, and you know, it could. The biggest example would be, imagine if someone signed off a deal with Dream Team FC who were owned by the Sun or something like that. And someone in Boston on a computer got that. Whereas this guy, Peter Moore, you were telling me upstairs in the office, he gets up in America to watch the games and starts tweeting throughout the games. Yeah. That's what you want to see. That's the level of commitment that you want from a CEO of Liverpool who doesn't have to do that. At the time, he wasn't being paid to be asked. He was getting up in the middle of the night and he's a fan of Liverpool Football Club first and foremost. That's the first thing that you have to be if you want to be CEO of Liverpool.
And also, again, on a smaller scale, Lewis, I'll come to you, he's a very well-known bit. I mean, people at home would probably know him. If they've watched South Park, they might know who he is. Yeah. He's been on South Park. But
you've definitely made it if you've had like a South Park skit of you. I think that's the thing.
It's something we all aspire to have. Some of us have been Vine stars, but none of us have ever been on South Park.
I've got 4 tunes in the bank. I'm halfway there.
You're getting you're on your way. Hopefully, in 10 years' time, there'll be people watching a Paul and Chris South Park.
Yeah.
That'll be... I mean,
make us one.
Yeah.
Just go make us one.
Someone. I mean,
Trey Parker, Matt Stone, if you're watching. Are they probably not?
Are they subscribers? You've got the list.
No, they're not.
Unless they're subscribing under an alias.
They could be.
I mean, who knows?
Robbie
Savage admitted this week that he used to go on message boards under an alias to see how the fans were talking about him, and he would write positive things about himself just to try and make you feel.
Don't you do that on your videos?
Yeah, but my name's on, man. Oh. at least I'll admit to me.
This Ste is great from Ste.
Yeah, that'd be sad. But no, I just argue with people on mine because so. Anyway, so that's moving on. More business stuff, which we might as well hit straight away. The accounts have just been released, Chris. Was it this morning, last night? So we've gone through them a bit. Liverpool made a loss, and this is from 15-16. So we need to keep that clear. £19.8 million loss. However, revenues are up by 3.9 million. That means Liverpool are 9th in the money table of Deloitte's football money table, and the debt has been cut from 237 to 40 million, which is a positive. Before we drill down, is there just anything there that stands out to you in that you
I mean, obviously we went from a profit of, I think it was around about 45 million or maybe 60 million the year before.
Mainly Suarez.
That was the Suarez money, wasn't it? But we made, I think I'm right in saying, we made a £1 million profit the year before that. I've got a funny feeling that during those periods as well, the season ticket money were in two lots of season ticket money was shoved into 1 year, I seem to remember. So I think that might have been the profit of £1 million where when FSG basically made us all buy our season tickets early to get them into a financial year. So ultimately the figure that I'm looking at from that is the fact that over the 6 years that they've been in charge of Liverpool, they've taken a debt of 237 million and made it into 40 million. And they released a statement saying that now Liverpool's on safe financial footing and now we can go on and compete. And I think that's the most important thing because it's not that long ago that we were near administration, is it, Steve?
No, absolutely. And Lewis, they get a lot of stick and rightly, at times rightly so. Yeah. I mean, some of it's unfair, some of it is fair. I think the lack of spending and stuff at times can be fair. You know, we're not buying the best players, we're not paying the most wages when fans want us to be. Hopefully that this lack of debt and we're getting towards, you know, breaking even or we're nearly in the black. I think if we are now we're close, I think they're almost running out of excuses. I mean that's one thing that we've all kind of bought into. I think if we are running closer to a profit and you know, they're expected to make a bigger profit next season. Most of that money that we lost was on
12 players. They bought
12 players.
And we sacked Brendan Rodgers and his backroom staff.
Paying the staff off. And hiring Klopp's staff. That was all included in that money. So, you know,
the two helicopters, one for Klopp, one for the brain. Did you hear about that?
Klopp wouldn't bring them in. Well, that's just good psychology, you know.
It's boss that, isn't it?
Klopp wouldn't come in unless his mate got one. But that's a lot of money. They expect to make a profit next year. Yeah. If next year there's a big profit and we're in the black, they're going to get levered. So I think this summer for them, even PR, when we mentioned PR-wise, it might be worth just going, you know what, lads, they've admitted themselves we're on a safe financial foot, and that was what they've said pretty much. It could be time to go big or do something massive now. Well,
they've come in and they've stabilised, and as Chris said, we were hours away from administration, and they've come in. Yeah. They've kind of got the club on a steal, really. Yeah. But they got the wage bill down with fucking Glenn Johnson's and the likes of that, and they've proper streamlined the squad's wages. And you know what, fair play, we're fucking advertising with Subway and Nivea and everyone out there, and we're getting money in. We've just done a stand-up, so they have invested in that way. Now we are on this stable footing. they've got to take it to the next level, because that's how natural progression works. If they don't do that, people will be calling for new owners, and rightly so. If you want Liverpool to be at the pinnacle of the league, they've got to be spending the same as I don't know if we can compete with the Uniteds and Chelseas and Cities, but
you compete with the Arsenals and Tottenhams.
Definitely, but it goes to show year on year the wage list is just like, you can look at the league table and the wage list table, and it's virtually the same all the time. So we're going to have to start stumping it up for players and wages if on the pitch we want to be as successful as we are off the pitch.
Is it fair to say, Chris, they've turned us into a good football business, a sound football business? Now it's the time to turn us into a sound, great football team.